What's up, guys? Welcome back to OverTakes. This is Misfit, and on today's episode, we are going to do a playoff team tier list. I'm going to give you my thoughts on who has a chance to win the title, the definite favorites, and the teams I don't think that are dark horse, teams that I think maybe are not going to do anything at all. Before we get started, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me. Thank you very, very much. If you've been supporting me, thanks a lot. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. If you're new, just tuning in, thanks for joining me. I do Overwatch League content 2 to 3 times a week, depending on what's going on. Could be doing content probably every day, every other day here for the next few days, throwing things out. I'm doing today, we're going to do a tier list tomorrow, or today, later in the afternoon. I'm recording this on Friday. Saturday, later in the afternoon, I'm going to have my pick'ems for the first round and who potentially I think are going to be the second round matchups. Then Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to do an updated picks and talk about the first couple matches, and we're just going to go down the line till we get to Grand Finals, and then we're going to talk extensively about that, or at least as much as we can before the game starts and all that. But I want to do a tier list of my thoughts on who's the best teams, best chances to win, teams maybe to look out for, and teams that are going to be in the hunt, and wouldn't surprise me if they went to the finals, got into those semifinal rounds, maybe made a bottom bracket run, teams like that. And there's a couple teams I just don't think have any kind of shot at all. So, without further ado, let's start. All right, we're going to start bottom to top. What top to bottom? Does it really matter? Yes, not. All right, we'll go top to bottom. How about that? We'll go top to bottom on the tier list. Before we really dive hardcore into it, let's talk a little about what the meta seems to be talked about being. You guys probably saw the patch notes. There's been nerfs to Zarya, Diva, Sombra a little bit, and there was a little bit of a nerf to Kiriko's teleport, which is kind of big because it was a kind of an immunity thing when she teleported. They went from a half second down to a quarter of a second. I don't know how Kiriko's going to get played. Sounds like they're going to play her. Sounds like Winston, Kiriko. I've heard a couple of things with that. I'm sure some of you guys have heard some of it too. But the meta's going to make some difference here, I think. I think you're probably going to see Sojourn because she's overpowered and these guys are cracked on her. No matter what. And while we're on the subject, just really quick. Look, I know all you guys listen to what the people say. I hear it too and I buy into some of the stuff. The good majority of us, and you guys are lying through your motherfucking teeth if you're all going to say, yeah, I see a lot of Zarya. Yeah, I see a lot of good Sojourns. You ain't playing in GM and you're not playing above Platinum. Most of you. Okay? So, before you start on your this is meta shit, nobody can hit a shot like the shots or position properly on Sojourn, use the mobility, or some of the other characters. Nobody knows how to play with Zarya gold down. Mid-gold down, I would say. Hard time seeing Zarya being played good. She was a little OP, so you got a lot of value out of her, even if you were playing her fucked up. Because people are out of position and you just melt them down. Anyway, Sojourn, not as good in the other ranks. Sure, you're going to have some guys that pop off. That happens occasionally. But anyway, this league, though, different story. Sombra in this league was a nightmare. But Sojourn had so much more value. And along with, if they're going to do what they said they were doing, Tracer, possibly, that's filthy. I think Kiriko Lucio is possibly the backline. So I based a little bit on that. It was from the leaks more than anything on my tier list is where I'm going on this. Some of you guys are going to like these picks. Some of you guys are going to hate them. But you know what? It is what it is. My opinion, take it with a grain of salt. I told you guys months ago about Dallas, and you didn't listen. You thought they were washed. You thought they were done. Yeah, I got to keep going back to that. We're not going to talk about Hangzhou. No. Or, yeah. Anyway. Okay. So, all right. Without further ado, here's the tier list. You see it there. I got it broke down. Title favorites, definite shot. Dark horses, probably not. And I put probably because you never can tell with teams what happens, metas, etc., what have you. And their first round matches do make a difference to me a little bit. First round matches, we got Philadelphia playing London, Hangzhou playing Shanghai, Florida, Atlanta, Toronto, Houston. 3 of the 4 games the teams know each other pretty well. Hangzhou plays Shanghai every tournament cycle, and they played them in every tournament, essentially. Well, maybe not every tournament. I think they played them in 3. Florida and Atlanta play all the time. Houston and Toronto play all the time, it feels like. Meaningful matches, playoffs, or tournaments, etc. And now they're playing in the playoffs. Rather fitting that I believe these were the two full NA matches, I believe, are two of the first matches of the year, how that worked out. And it could be a couple of teams near last match of the year. But let's talk about title favorites first. All right, we'll start with the first team on this title favorites thing, Dallas. Dallas Fuel, I just said, I said watch out for them. Look, they got a good team. And whatever meta they run, you have Hanbin, you have Fearless. They play a lot better with Hanbin in there, but if it's Winston heavy, you're going to see some Fearless. And, you got Sparkle, Doha, Edison, fantastic DPS line, supports, Fielder, Chio, backline, fantastic. They can play a myriad of heroes. Plus, you got Chio, in my opinion, Rookie of the Year candidate. Fantastic on the Lucio, which you're probably going to see. And you have someone like Fielder here that's got Cracked Aim. Probably do pretty good on Kariko. Kariko's kind of tricky, so I don't know how that's going to work out for them with that. But tanks, solid. DPS, solid. You're solid across the board. They cover metas. They have big play potential. These guys, they have carry potential. All of them. This team had a little bit of a lull in the beginning of the year, getting their feet wet with 5v5, but they leaned on that Zarya comp. They might play some Zarya too. It's a little bit more punishable when you get up in these ranks with the 2.5 seconds to 2.5 seconds. So we'll see. They could lean on that a little bit, but you got Fearless playing Winston. That's not a bad thing either. I'd rather have Hanbin in there, like I said, playing things, but you could go map specific with certain comps and stuff like that. We'll have to see first round, see what these teams do. Next team on the list, and they're not in any particular order. Next team in the title favorites, Gladiators. We talked ad nauseum pretty much about the Gladiators this year. Reiner, fantastic tank. You have space backing him up if you need him to play certain things. You have Kevster. You have Happy. You have a DPS line that is filthy. Support line, you have Shu. Best flex support in the league right now. Period. And you're going to have him on Kariko. And he's really good with with the aim and stuff like that. You've seen him on Baptiste last year. We've seen him on Zenyatta doing disgusting shots from everywhere. Plus, Baptiste is really good in this meta too. So you could see him lean on Baptiste a little bit because he has the good burst healing. He has all the stuff. He could do what he did last year with Baptiste. Especially maybe you get him on certain maps. You run Baptiste, you run Kariko on other things. We'll see. But him along with Funny Astro, another amazing Lucio player. Lucio's meta. He's going to be meta. Until they nerf him into the ground, whenever that is, if they ever do, like Tracer, he's not going to get touched, I don't think. He provides speed. He provides healing to an extent. He can cancel out ults. He harasses backlines. He can one-on-one people. And Funny Astro is one of the best at that. So, Gladiators, title contender. Next up, I have the Soul Dynasty in here. 2 reasons. Smurf, Prophet. Smurf you're going to have on Winston, potentially. Prophet on Tracer, potentially. And you also have Fitz, and you have Stalker. You have, if you wanted to do something where you did an Echo Tracer, you could run Prophet on Echo. He's way better than he was when Echo came out. People don't give him enough credit. I give him credit for everything because he's the fucking GOAT. So that's one of the reasons. And also, you got an improved backline. You have Vindime and you have Iris. I like that. Iris, Cracked Aim. Kariko. You're going to need that. So you got those 2 guys. Tank, Smurf, 2-time champion, MVP candidate. If other players and, situations might have happened, people saw more of him play. His flexibility is insano. I was saying that at the beginning of the year that I think Smurf can be one of the best tanks without having the backup off-tank thing. And here we are. End of the year, title favorite, Soul Dynasty. They were title favorites in the beginning. I know. I understand that. Also, in this title favorites, San Francisco Shock. You have rookies galore that are insane. Nuts. You have Proper, who is nominated for MVP, Rookie of the Year. Finn, Violet. You have Kaluge. You have Mikey, even. You also have Kilo. You have Finn. This team is going to be really good. I think they make a deep run in this. They could win. Yeah, they're a title contender. They should be in the latter rounds. They should be facing off against some of these other teams. Could they? They're not out of the realm of possibility of making not an early bracket, lower bracket run, but I think like mid-late lower bracket, if they happen to get in a situation where they lost, I think they could make a run and end up in the finals. But San Francisco is in the mix. More than in the mix. San Francisco is one of the top contenders for this year's championship. All right, let's move to the next level where I have teams with a definite shot. Shanghai Dragons first. They're the Dragons. You have Fate, a bunch of different guys, Fleta, Lip, Lee Jae-gon, Izayaki. You know, the championship team that we saw last year, they're going to have some characters that they can play, heroes, whatever you want to call them, in this meta, and they've been playing better. You know, Who Are You was carrying them for a little bit on Genji, but Genji got nerfed pretty hard. So if you didn't see that, they reduce his damage, reduce his ammo. That's big, especially for these guys with good aim and that, you know, building the ults and all that stuff. And he just might not be good in the scenario with Kariko. Who knows? I have not seen I don't see good Genji play in my games. So I see people just memeing, just running around trying to deflect shots. I don't think we're going to see much of Who Are You, but if you want to run Genji, he's there. They're going to do a lot of damage. There's a possibility they could win. This is the outside shot that they could sneak up on you and win. I don't think it's probable. I think one of the teams in the title favorites, one of the 4 teams that I have up there, one of those teams I'm not going to reveal which one. I think one of them is going to win it. These other teams have a really good shot because they have really freaking good teams. And some of them did not play up to potential at certain points of the year. Actually, all 4 of them. But they all have rosters that could win a title if they hit the meta right. The guys get heroes that work well. And they iron out their problems. And, you know, they don't fall asleep in matches. Not literally, but, you know, they don't have that bad match. This is not the time for your stupid match. I'm talking to Philly, Houston, Atlanta. This is not time for dumb match week. You know, Philly losing to, well, they can't lose to the Valiant because they're not here. So maybe that's a good thing for them. They have that weight off their shoulders. But you got London first. So, you know, that could be a trap game, guys, if you're betting. But let's move on to Houston. We talked about Shanghai. We've been talking about Houston a lot too. I think this current thing could bite them a little bit if it is Winston heavy. Because I don't know if Doge is up to the caliber of some of these guys. I know Dante, unless if Dante learns Winston along with the whole off-tank roster as well, he kind of knew that a little bit. He just had to get back into practice with those. But still, why isn't he MVP? He's literally a flex god if he can do that. And if they win a couple of matches and he's playing Winston doing that, hey, look, that guy deserves a bag next year from a team. And if it's not Houston, it better be somebody else because the guy's cracked. He's smart too, and that's the thing I like about him. They have some smart players on this team. You look at the back line, that's where I get a little iffy with them. And it's not Lastro per se. Maybe a creative, I don't know. I'm a little leery on creative from just points last year. Yes, he's gotten better. I understand that. He was the Dragons with the Dynasty this year, but I'm a little iffy on that. The DPS merit is insane. Let's just put it that way. Even from before Sojourn was meta, you know, when he was playing, we had a little bit of Soldier 76 meta beginning of the year, way back in May. He looked good on that. You know, he does a lot of good things. And you have Pelican. Now, the problem here is with Pelican is one of his best heroes is Genji. And then you have a Tracer situation potentially. And honestly, I think the best Tracer player that they have is playing tank right now in Dante. So there is a shot for them to do something. These guys get their game on and they play like they played in some of these early season matches, I think. And even later on in the season, they picked up a little. Yeah, I think they let off the gas a little bit too. But I think Houston has potential to do something. Philly. I don't know what's going to happen with Philly. If they had a zone for the East teams, like that I can just put under a big question mark, 3 of the 4 of them would be there. Let's just throw that out there. Philadelphia, on any given day, can do any given thing. or not given thing, if you will. Their DPS line is cracked. You got Carpe, you got Zest, you got MN3. Fantastic. I don't know what to think about what, much like I'm a little more leery of their support line than I am with the Outlaws. I think they're good. It's just there are points when Creative, he feels the pressure, I think, and these are big pressure situations, and this is where you want somebody to step up, not fuck up Transcendence or, with Kariko. You don't want someone to Katsuni rush at the wrong time in the wrong spot. You can hit objects on the map. You don't want any of that stuff. They can get blocked by Rhine shields, Winston bubbles, stuff like that. And he's been prone to doing weird things with ultimates in big situations from what I've seen. But Aim God and Fixa, I'm not sold on that for this meta. They've looked good at points, yes. But I don't know what Aim God's Kariko looks like, if they're going to even run it. Some of these teams might not. They might run them on BAP. It just might be comfort. It might be easier. And BAP does give you a lot of utility. Kariko's good, but BAP is a better Kariko. Consistent damage, consistent healing, and decent ultimates. Are they Katsune Rush? No. But he has Lamp and he has Window. Those things are insane. Tanks, you got Fury, you got Belisariya. They're good. I think they can do whatever you need them to do. Belisariya obviously is most likely going to be doing the Winston duties. If they do Winston, you have one of the best divas in the world. You can run diva in this meta. They nerfed her, but it's just you can't do that kind of, if any of you guys play diva, you can't do that, just destroy the back line, fly in, D-matrix up, boop, missiles, constant fire, boop, not kill the Zenyatta, kill the other support thing, whoever it may be, Ana. But in this situation, Kariko, you're not going to do it to Lucio because he's just going to, in this level, he's just going to wall ride out and just boop you away or whatever. You have options with Fury and Belisariya. If the Winston doesn't work out with Belisariya, you can run Fury on a couple of different things that I think it could work out. Zarya, you could run him potentially Diva, whatever you need to do that on. Or put him on, I should say. They're really, really good. I just don't think they have moments where they're not. Don't be surprised. That's why I have them in this team. Don't be surprised if they do a run. If you guys remember in Midseason Madness, they did that bottom bracket run. They got pretty far, and then I believe they lost to Atlanta. So they got 3 or 4 matches in. They shit the bed in the first match, and then they had a close one against the Mayhem. But yeah, Philadelphia has a shot. I don't think it's probable, but it wouldn't surprise me. So that's why I have them in this tier. And the final team on that tier, we have the Atlanta Reign. Atlanta should be in the tier above. This team plays well when they have to, but there are times when they don't. And when you have Kai, you have Hawk, you have guys like Ultraviolet, Vigilante, OG for your supports. And you have Kai, who's insane, and then you have Venom, who runs a really good tracer in this. They should be in that top tier, but there are things about them I don't like. There are times, like I said, they lapse in, they just, not to use this term, because I can't stand it, they drop the spaghetti. Not quite Philadelphia level of that, or Houston level of that, but they still have a propensity to not play their best at the right time this year. There's a certain point where you are what your record says you are, even no matter what you do in a tournament. We can talk about Houston all we want. They don't win in tournaments. They're a good team. They win a lot of games. Atlanta, they finished squeaking in from where they were and where they should have been. So if certain things unfold in this meta, because they could change by Monday. Someone could do something on Sunday, and those games on Monday, or Monday, Dallas comes out and runs something that everybody starts copying. When there's a new hero thrown into the mix in a playoff situation, I can't stand, but it provides a lot of things. And I don't like Atlanta sometimes. They're confusing to me. But, like I said, they do well in these tournaments. That's why I have them in the definite shot to win. All right, that's that tier. Now, let's move down to my 2 dark horse teams. I have the Toronto Defiant. Toronto has the potential to do a lot in this meta and in the playoffs. They've gotten better all year, in my estimation. I had them below mid-table, maybe right on the edge. I think I had them at 16 because I just did some of the guys I just thought were just washed up old dudes, just nothing, bringing nothing to the table. Consistent, yes. Flashy, no. But the one thing they did do is solidify, if not one of the best, if not the best, support lines in the league. Twilight and Chorong. Twilight and Chorong are consistently good. You know, Hisu's really good too. He has pop-off moments, and he does it a lot. Finale is look good, although it's looked, you know, both of their DPS are okay. You know, you got Hotpa running most of the stuff. You might see Muse playing a little bit of Winston if they do Winston. I don't know. Maybe Hotpa's picked up Winston. Who knows? But I think they have a chance to ruin somebody's day. They have an outside shot, I think, along with the other team on this list, to potentially, if the meta hits right, they hit the right teams in the brackets. You know, they get through their game, lose second round, and then they end up having to play London or something like that, or they end up having to play a team that they matched up well with all year long, or that they've seen a few times. One of those scenarios, and they maybe make a lower bracket run, or they make a top bracket run and beat teams that they've beaten, even though they both kind of are iffy on the top 4 teams anyway. Maybe one of them beats Seoul because Seoul's never seen them. Do you see where I'm going here? I think these teams have the potential to do that. Most likely not going to win the tournament. They have good players. I think this is a better year than I thought it was going to be for the Defiant, and I have them in a dark horse realm because I don't think you want to play them. In your head, you're saying, yeah, I'm going to pick them when we get to the pick round, but they have potential pop-off guys like Hisu. He could take over a match. You know, it's got to make you a little wary. Now, the next team on this list, same thing. The Florida Mayhem. The Mayhem, they've been up and down all year. They're better than projected by a lot of people. So you really can't knock them. But they have some things where they just drive you nuts. I think they're fun. Someone is a very versatile tank. He's gotten better as the year has gone on. He's had lulls here and there. Some areas he's better at than not. You have guys like Checkmate, fantastic. Hydron playing an insane Sojourn. And you have the back line is where I get a little weird with them. You have Onimo on the Lucio potentially. I think they ran Majed on it a little bit too. Or Majed maybe, but you know, then you have Sir Majed and Rupel. It doesn't thrill me, although whichever one of those guys takes over, either Rupel or Sir Majed, takes the Kariko reins, they're hyper aggressive and they have really good aim, and they're not afraid to do the damage. And that's one of the things you need to do with Kariko. So one of them might be a really good Kariko on this team. You have that going on. The thing that scares me the most is Sir Majed dies way too much. But I said that 15,000 times this year. But I think they're good enough to scare teams. I think a team like Atlanta, they can squeak one out. They've had a couple of matches where they've beaten them most of the match and lost in the end. There's chances that they blew in those matches. So they can match up against these teams, even though roster-wise, you know, you look at it, it's not as accomplished, not as good on paper, but their execution is good to an extent. They overextend. They get hyper-aggressive. They also don't know how to finish things. This is where the things with the Mayhem come in for me. Now, and like I said, dark horse team. They have potential. They like to play with their backs up against the wall. They've always played better with their backs against the wall this year. I mean, look at last weekend. They went 2-0. They beat Toronto, and they went out on Sunday, or not last weekend, last weekend of the season. And last weekend, they were insanely good in the last meta when it came to an end. The problem is in metas, but I do think they have an outside shot to be a dark horse, do a run, maybe not all the way to the finals, just like Toronto. They could get sneaky wins here and there if they get the right teams, or if the meta and their players meshes really well together, they could scare people. If Florida plays like they did last weekend, they should be a favorite. But I don't think they're going to be playing like that when it gets down to Dallas, Glads, with money on the line. You know, even Seoul, San Francisco, even the teams in that tier above, Houston, Shanghai. When you get into teams like that, I don't see them hanging. All right, final list. Teams, probably not. I have two teams down here. I have the Hangzhou Spark. Hangzhou, I know you guys are saying, oh, well, Gushwei, Winston, good team. This is made for them. Everything's been made for them. They have 400 players. I lost my faith in them. How's that? They are the new Washington. I'm just picking against them because I don't know what to do. Look, they snuck into this thing, or not really snuck in. They got a higher seed. Guangzhou, who looked better than any team for the last 3 weeks of the season, crapped out against and lost, got knocked out. I don't know. They have the potential to be a team that can win. Shy has the potential to pop off. Pineapple on Tracer is great. You have Alpha E, potentially, if you want to use an Echo scenario. You have Gushwei, you got Bernard. They look better with Bernard in there. Anytime Bernard's in there, they seem more cohesive and they play better right now, this team, in my opinion. The problem really is you have 15 support players and none of them are really any fucking good. And fight me. They're okay. Irony, okay. Neko, washed. Okay. Compared to what he was when he was playing in Season 1 on Boston. Teru, I'm not a fan. Super Rich, okay. I just think that this is the biggest problem on this team. And the other issue is you got the Changooning will commence. But one thing about Changoon, he somehow manages to get a lot of wins when they change metas. So I don't know what it is about what he does. I think it throws people off that are trying to figure out a regular meta, and he's just doing his own thing with whoever. Well, he's got 2 full teams, so he can scrim all the time and see what the hell's going on. I get that point of view. We talked about that 5 years ago, that it seemed like a good idea, but now it doesn't to me. But because there's too much shit, and too many people want playtime and whatnot, what have you. Anyway, too many players. It's just I don't think they have the guns to go all the way. I don't think they're going to sneak up on Glads, Dallas, San Francisco. I'll even throw in Seoul, even though they've met each other and they've beaten Seoul. I think in this situation, Smurf, Profit, playoffs, no, it ain't going to happen. Their first match is also against Shanghai, who's playoff proven, and I just don't see it. Okay, final team on the list. We have the other team, probably not London. And I really, honestly, with London, it's mostly meta. I don't think you're going to be able to run Rush into what these teams are running because they're just going to get mowed over. Look, they do it really good. Hottie's great on Reinhardt. He has picked up his other tanks really, really well. You have Backbone that's pretty flexible. Sparker, decent. Admiral, fantastic main support. Landon has looked good as well. They also have Khan. I don't know who's going to be the main guy playing Kariko. They're both good. They're not like insanely good, but they're good enough. You know what I mean? They're good. I'm glad that they're here. Christopher's done an amazing job with this team. You have a potential to maybe squeak a win out. You also have Poco if you need to run a little off tank. But, it's just, I don't think it's going to happen. I think this is where the Magic season ends. I don't think it's going to last very long. And I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying in this current situation, and I don't think it's going to be this is a bad song choice for them. Let's just put it that way. If you want to go into those terms. A Winston dive with Kariko, Tracer, Sojourn. All right, yeah, DPS are all right. Lucio, yeah. But the thing is now you're in the situation where you're playing these teams that see the money on the table, that are the best in the league from both sides. And I think they could give somebody a headache. Like, they'll give Atlanta a headache because they always do. But, yeah, I just don't see it. I mean, not Atlanta. Well, if they ever play Atlanta. They're playing Philadelphia first. But Philadelphia and them could be an interesting match. That's the way I see it. But anyway, guys, there's my tier list. That's going to do it. Look for the picks episode. We're going to talk about the first couple matches in depth a little bit. Talk about maybe a little crystal ball stuff. And then we'll have another episode on Monday, Tuesday-ish. Talk about the first matches. And then we'll just keep setting them up all week long. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me. All your support's greatly, greatly appreciated. Whether you've been here for 5 years or for 1 day, thank you very much. If you're new, thank you very much for checking me out, checking out the whole video. If you guys get a like, subscribe, all the YouTube jazz, that's fantastic. This is Misfit. I'm out. Everybody stay safe, have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you on the next one.